Welcome to Amazing World Channel.
The European Parliament's chief Brexit negotiator Guy Verhofstadt in Belfast at the start of a two-day fact-finding mission led Brexit negotiation. Guy Verhofstadt, who visited the island of Ireland last week and addressed a special Oireachtas committee, said he was shocked by what he saw when he visited Belfast. "I can tell you it was a shock to go to Belfast, because the reality is that their problems are not over," he told the European Parliament in Strasbourg today. "There is peace due to the Good Friday Agreement, but there are still these tensions. There are fences 12 meters high in the 21st century. The worst thing that can happen is to lose the peace that Europe brought," he said, of the unresolved issue of what will happen to the Irish border once the UK leaves the EU. "I stood next to Memorial Monument, where you see pictures of young people 15 or 16 years old that died in a conflict based on nationalism, based on extremism. Ensuring violence doesn't return to Northern Ireland has to be an absolute priority for our House," he said. Meanwhile, several MEPs rounded on the British government and pointed to the internal strife within the Tory party as the reason for the lack of progress on Brexit talks so far. German MEP Manfred Weber called on UK Prime Minister Theresa May to please sack British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson during a debate on Brexit at the European Parliament. MEPs were debating a motion in the European Parliament in Strasbourg which calls on EU heads of state to decide that sufficient progress has not been made on three key aims of early Brexit talks, unless the next round of talks on the UK's withdrawal from the EU delivers a major breakthrough. The motion, "Brexit Lack of Sufficient Progress on Divorce Terms," was carried as the October deadline for ballpark agreement on three priority areas looms large. The three areas are in rights of EU citizens in the UK after Brexit, the UK's financial obligations, and the Northern Irish border. The EU says until sufficient progress is made on agreement in these areas, talks on a trade deal can't commence. "Who shall I call in London that speaks for the British government?" Mr. Weber said was the top question at the moment. "Is it Theresa May, Boris Johnson or David Davis, the UK's Brexit secretary?" Such lack of cohesion shows the British government is trapped by their own party quarrels and political contradictions, he said. Mr. Verhofstadt said he regretted the tenor of the motion and would prefer, if it was one declaring that phase 2 of the talks could begin. But, he said, the disunity among the British government is one of the reasons for the lack of progress. "There is opposition between Hammond and Fox," Mr. Verhofstadt said, referring to Tory infighting between British Chancellor Philip Hammond and Trade Secretary Liam Fox. "There are divisions between Johnson and May," he told the chamber. "It's difficult to make the steps towards the second phase of the negotiations. I deplore, in fact, that we are not able to put before you another resolution than the resolution of today," he told the Parliament of the motion that points to all of the areas that remain outstanding after 4 rounds of negotiations between EU lead negotiator Michel Barnier and David Davis. Online editors